My name's Brian Cohen. I was born and raised in London. I am currently living in Pittsburgh, have been for 16 years or so. Photographer. Teach photography and art history. My own work is kind of split between a number of different things. There is my own work as a photographer, there's also my work as a collaborator. I can't do anything about who I am. I am what I am. I can do something about who I choose to turn my camera towards. So, for example, I've been working on a project recently, which is a portraiture project. Oddly enough, it's not something I have done very often. And it is really important to me that there is a diversity of faces represented in that series. So in terms of who I turn the camera towards, yes, that's really important. When I collaborate in projects like the one that's around me now, that's also important. It's not always easy, but it's really important to try and diversify the groups that I work with. I think I took the idea of portraiture and ran with it a little. So I think I took a few liberties. Certainly the Tony Ray Jones photography is street photography, it's documentary photography. And if you looked at it more broadly, it is very clearly a portrait of a society. I'm not sure that would fit with everybody's definition of portraiture. But I think portraiture can cover, even if we take that out of the mix for a minute, and I actually think it fits nicely, but if we take that out of the mix, there's all sorts of ways of making a portrait, from the classic studio style, someone standing in front of camera with lights around them and a plain backdrop, to environmental portraiture, putting people in a space with lots of other things going on around them. There are many, many different ways of making a portrait, and I think the diversity of the images in that sense, the diversity of the images in the gallery really speaks to that. The documentary work started actually as a single individual project about Marcellus shale drilling, what is commonly known as fracking. Around 2011, I think, I went to Laura Domensic, who's now the director of the museum here. We've been working together on a couple of things. And I said, I have this idea, I'd like to document Marcellus shale drilling. It's not something, and it sounds very strange now to be saying that because everybody knows what fracking is now. At the time, it was not very well known, but it was beginning to tick up very quickly in Western Pennsylvania. So I'd like to do a documentary, stills documentary project about it, but I don't think this is for one person. I think this needs to be a group project. So we sat down and thought about who might be a good candidate to join a group. Laura came up with a couple of names. As that group began to build, so people that we invited who were very excited about it were telling other people, and we ended up inviting people through the first people that we had brought on board. So I did not really know any of the photographers at the time. They're now many of them very good friends and colleagues. So this is a very long-winded way of answering the question. That project, which was supposed to be a single standalone project that was supposed to go on exhibit in one place ended up traveling for 3 years across multiple states. And at some point, it occurred to me that this was actually not a bad idea, and it was something that we might be able to do again on other subjects. So it has been very ad hoc. It's kind of each project is improvised in its own way, but that's how it started. The next project we did was about air quality in Western PA, which is not half as good as people think. And we used some of the same people from the earlier project and got some new people in. And there is this constant in and out that goes on. But that's basically it. It's all very ad hoc. Very much what do we want to do at any particular time. That's what this project was about. I said, well, this is something I think we all want to talk about, and we got the group together again, just ran with it. There are a couple of principles that underpin who gets to be involved in the project. One of which is that we'd like to be working with local people, on the basis that there are good people everywhere, people who are good at what they do everywhere, but why not use the people who are in your neighborhood? So generally speaking, after the first project, the photographers, designer, printer, everybody who's involved, curators, everyone who's involved in projects is local. And that's actually really important. And the other thing is, going back to what we were talking about before, we are also trying to diversify our profile and make sure that as many, given that it's a very small group to start with, as many people are represented as is possible.